Hello beautiful people of YouTube and my podcast. That's right, it's going to be on both platforms this time because it is ADHD Awareness Month, which is October apparently, which I had no idea about until I saw a post about it. We are basically going to be going through my journey of from when someone told me that I might have it to now diagnosed and starting titration of medications, because it's been a long ride, okay? Hang on, I just need to brush my hair. I'm going to be straightening my hair whilst I do this because I need to go out, but also I need to record this video whilst I have the energy and remember to. Otherwise, it's going to slip my mind again for about the 10th time. I'm filming on the 11th of October. I saw the post on the 1st and I kept meaning to make this video. So here we are. So a lot of people, especially because on my TikTok, I started a series of like how my medication's going, how it's affecting me. I had quite a few people ask how I actually went about getting my diagnoses. And like I said, it has been a long journey. If you are a girl with ADHD, you will most likely have had a comment from someone when you tell them that you have ADHD that is something along the lines of, oh, but my like 7-year-old nephew has ADHD and you're nothing like him. Of course I'm nothing like him. I'm a 23-year-old woman, you know, where it's all hyperactive, jumping off the walls, like a kid, because they're kid, and also have ADHD, maybe. But it presents differently when you're younger as to when you grow up, and it also presents differently in literally everyone. It's the same as any other type of chronic illness, disability, however you want to call it. It presents differently in everyone. And long story short, we're going to start with the first bit, which isn't really relevant. It's just sort of how someone sort of mentioned it to me. So in my, I want to say second year of uni, I was getting really anxious. It was the middle of lockdown, I wasn't seeing anyone, and my disabilities had started getting worse. So I was freaking out like, oh my god, what if I have a seizure in public? And basically my anxiety was taking over my life. So I went to the NHS therapy and basically started talking to this therapist, and she was like, you know what, tell me about your life, tell me about what sort of happened and why you think your anxiety is so bad at the moment, all that sort of thing. So I filled her in, as you do, and rather than mentioning any of the content that I gave her in my explanations, she literally just, after I finished talking, she was sort of just like, have you been diagnosed with ADHD? So me being me, I was like, no, definitely not. She's like, oh, what about BPD? And again, no, still haven't been looked into for that. But we're going to ignore that for now. And once she started saying it, she was sort of like, oh, you should talk to your GP about it. And I had no idea why she was saying this. Like, maybe I was talking a bit fast, or, you know, maybe something I said about my past experiences had clicked something in her head, like, oh, that's really common in people with ADHD, or I really don't know what it was that sort of set this off to her. But for me, this was like a shock that someone was saying this to me. Like, this is the first time anyone had ever mentioned something about me possibly having ADHD, ever. So really weird to me. And she told me about like ADHD UK, the different you can visit, they have all the information on, obviously the NHS website, all that sort of thing. So I started having a look around, and fair play to her, because I've now got a diagnosis and I'm on medication. But like I said, I don't know what I said that made her go like, oh yeah, this girl's got ADHD. Probably the same thing that I'm doing now and going on about 10 different tangents at once. But I went to my GP and he said, right, fill out this questionnaire, we'll do it together and I'll email it to you, like the answers, so you have a copy. So we did this questionnaire, and it was like the official NHS one that they actually use for like referrals and that. So we did that, and he sort of just looks at me and goes, yeah, there's probably like a very high chance that you've got it. And I'm in no way saying that people should Google their illnesses or anything. I am chronically ill and disabled, so this is something I've been doing for a while. I know sort of what websites to pay attention to and what ones to ignore. Like, don't just go on Wikipedia, because anyone can change that. And it's the age-old story of like, you tell Google that you've got a headache and all of a sudden you've got brain tumour. Fun fact, I have one. It's not cancerous, it's just there. It sort of just lives there. I called it Bob. I need to not go off on a tangent. There we go. This is what I mean. But basically, when she told me that and my doctor told me that, I started doing some more research into it, because I was still sort of in denial. I didn't really understand anything about it. I was very much that person that still thought, you know, all ADHD affects people the same. It was external hyperactivity, basically. That was the idea that I had in my head. And to be fair, I do have some external hyperactivity, so obviously I do talk quite quickly and I have to force myself to slow down, otherwise people can't really understand me, as well as I fidget a lot. I get bursts of energy that feel like I really need to move. And the problem is, whilst having other disabilities as well, the feeling that I need to move, and my physical disabilities being like, but you can't, is really frustrating. And I think that's part of the reason why I was like, no, there's no way I have it, because I don't do this or this. And like, I was trying to, like, I was deep in denial, basically. I started doing research, which I probably started talking about 2 minutes ago, and I just completely forgot. It's like right now, I'm meant to be straightening my hair at the same time as doing this. I've done like 2 bits. Like, usually I'm really good at multitasking. Ask my partner, he hates it because he can't multitask at all. Whereas if we're doing something, I have to be doing something else, otherwise I can't concentrate. So I'm gonna literally pull up my iPad now, because this is where I stored all of my notes. Now, this hasn't been charged in the longest time, so I really hope the app isn't gonna kick me out because it needs updating. I have like a whole folder of just health, which I've now been diagnosed with. So I was right. Only because other people with the condition told me about it, to be honest. But so this is one page, I don't know how well you can see it, from like an ADHD magazine type thing that my therapist told me about. And all of the things that are in pink are symptoms that I relate to. So, do you feel overwhelmed in stores, at the office, or at parties? It's impossible for you to shut out sounds and distractions that don't bother others. Oh my god, yes. I have to go to the cinema with my loop earplugs in because I can't deal otherwise. Because I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's the loud sounds as a whole, or like if someone starts talking, because my partner is that annoying person that starts talking, and it really bugs me. Like, to the point that I actually get angry. So I have to wear my earplugs there. Parties I don't really do, because too many people just like the thing said, overwhelm me. I am not good with loud noises or crowds, and I thought that was like just my anxiety, essentially, which can be a very common misdiagnosis, especially for ADHD in women. You know, they can just palm you off as saying, oh, you have anxiety, depression, and yeah, you might have those as well, but very common misdiagnosis for women with ADHD. So it's things like that. Let me read the next one and see what we think. Is time, money, paper, or stuff dominating your life? I have a lot of stuff. My room is a mess. I'm not good at keeping it clean. Do you often shut down in the middle of the day? Yes. Are you spending most of your time looking for things, catching up, or avoiding people because of this? Yeah. Like, looking for things especially, I lose everything. I had a breakdown the other day because I couldn't find my camera. And do you know where it was? Right in front of me. Right in front of me. The whole time. So that wasn't very clever of me, I will be honest. But all of these sorts of things I never would have attributed to ADHD. I never would have thought about it. Do you start each day determined to get organised and get your life together, and then just end the day feeling defeated? Absolutely, that was me. That was me 100%. Now, I won't lie, a lot of my mindset coaching has helped with this as well, and helped me learn to deal with my own head almost and make sense of it. But beforehand, it was the executive dysfunction that used to really, really stress me out. I would sit here and be like, right, my room is a mess. It is upsetting me that it's a mess. I'm gonna clean it. And then 2 hours later, I'd still be sitting there. And I'd then get annoyed at myself. Why am I not moving? I want to clean my room. I want to make myself feel better. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm not moving, and it's stressful. And I was talking to my mum about it, who, by the way, first did the same thing I did and literally said to me, there is no way you have ADHD. And I did to her exactly what I'm doing to you right now, and just saying all the symptoms that I, have read and picked out. And she's like, oh, I do that. Oh, everyone does that. That's normal. Or, oh yeah, I've done that my whole life. Everyone does it. No, they don't. And I think that was such a big thing for me to realise that not everyone does these things, because I was so convinced in my head that, oh, everyone does this sort of thing. Everyone has those days where they want to do things and they just can't. It's a lack of willpower, it's this, it's that. Not necessarily, it's called executive dysfunction. And I will go on about that quite a lot because it did massively affect me, especially as I started going to university. Like I said, it was during lockdown, so I went from 2019 to 2022. So my first trimester was in person, and that was absolutely brilliant. I was getting really good grades, I was studying, I was going out, I was making friends. I actually met Molly May at a club in Cambridge because she was doing an appearance there, and I got the early bird ticket, which actually had everything included in meeting her. Anyway, ignoring that, this was before I actually knew or cared about who she was. I just want to point out as well. I feel really bad saying that, but I was already going to this club for freshers, and then all of a sudden they announced her, and I'm, who the hell is she? I felt so bad, but she was lovely, so that was fun. What else have we got? Oh look, inability to deal with stress. I shut down massively. And this is also something that me and my friend were talking about. So she also has ADHD, and at one point I was at a concert and I forgot my phone charger and I was in tears. I was having a full-on breakdown, and she was like, girl, it's not the end of the world, chill, you're okay, we can get around this, we can ask people if they have a charger, you know, someone here is willing to lend you a wire, of all things, it's not that big a deal. And then we were like, oh yeah, there was portable chargers outside, people were literally selling them. But me being me, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, I'm not going to have access to my phone. I'm not going to be able to call my partner if something happens. What if I have a seizure and pass out and have to go to hospital? Like, I'm not going to be able to get hold of him. I was freaking out, and she was just there like, bro, chill. And I've done the exact same to her. So she'll be there having a full-on breakdown, and I'm like, girl, calm. It's not that big. It's not that deep. Just, right, we'll do this, and then we'll do this. That logic doesn't kick in unless it's someone else that you're helping. But we also have mood swings and really bad temper. And I do, to be fair, in some cases. Oh my god, right. I do, to be fair, just ask my partner. It's not fun. I don't like it. I don't enjoy doing it. But I can't help it. And I think that has also helped with the medication as well, to be fair. I love how I said, like, this is my journey with ADHD and I'm just going over some symptoms. No, people know what some of the symptoms are. But I'm going to get back on track now, I promise. So after I'd been referred to my doctor, obviously I was doing all this research. I think I have 7 pages worth of research of symptoms that I have, different online tests, because no, they are not they are not clinical diagnosis, they are not a be all end all, but they can give a pretty good indication. Mine are accurate, so, you know, it's not great. Continually starting tasks before finishing old ones. I'm not as bad as my partner at that one specifically. He gets a lot more distracted than I do, very easily, very quickly. And a lot of the time I'm just there like, hey, finish the first thing. There's stuff everywhere, finish the first thing. But, you know, all that sort of thing. I've already gone off on a tangent. I said I wasn't going to go through symptoms, but I suppose the symptoms are important. Ooh, dropped it. Don't want to do that. I've got hot straighteners on my leg. Inability to focus, continually losing things, forgetfulness, restlessness, blurting out responses and interrupting people, mood swings, irritability, inability to deal with stress, extreme impatience, and taking risks in activities often with little or no regard for personal safety. So that one is not extreme for me, but it's very much a case of there's very little time where I will feel a sense of fear where other people will. So I would love to go, I really want to do a skydive one day. And a charity skydive especially, and everyone else, oh my god, no, that's terrifying, you could die. And I'm just like, you know, that's something I really want to do. So although it's not extreme, I don't actually do it, I don't put myself in danger, some things like that I really want to do, and I'm willing to. From there, right, I remembered this girl, right, and I promise this story is relevant to my ADHD journey, I promise. And there was this one girl. Now, we didn't get on. I didn't get on with her because she had tried to get in the way of me and my other friend, and she didn't get on with me for a variety of reasons. And looking back on it, those variety of reasons, because we did actually argue over text, and she literally listed them out. And a lot of them were, you interrupt me, you interrupt our other friend, you do this, you do that. Or you try and make it about you when I'm trying to tell you a story, or you try and turn it around and make it about you. You're impulsive, you do this, you do that. And all of those, literally all of them, were symptoms of ADHD. This girl hated me because I had ADHD and I didn't know it. So looking back on that, it's a bit like, okay, thanks for that. Not really much of a loss, but the fact that other people could see all of that and I had literally no idea that I was doing it. Because I remember at the time, I felt so bad when she was telling me all of this stuff. I felt absolutely awful, even if I didn't like her, because I'll be honest, I didn't. But even though I didn't like her, I felt bad that she thought I'd been interrupting her, she thought I'd been making it about me, because in actual fact, when she was telling us a story about her or about something else, I would try and relate to it and show her that I was relating to what she was saying and I understood what she was saying. And in my head, you know, that's what I was doing. But to her, because I was saying, oh yeah, I understand that, I've had a very similar situation, to her, that was me making it about myself. And I felt really bad for that. I did not mean for it to come across like that at all, but now I have that diagnosis of ADHD and I'm looking back on it, it makes so much sense. But I do just find it kind of funny that this girl listed every single reason and all of them were symptoms of ADHD. Every single one. It just makes me laugh because it's not even petty things. You know how girls, when you're younger, you have your issues, you're like, oh, you did this and I don't like it, or oh, you said this about so and so. Nothing like that. It was literally because of my symptoms of ADHD that I didn't know I had. And I've never spoken to her since then, to this day, which is 2-3 years later. Actually, it was even longer, I think. I think it's even longer than that. But, like I said, she could see it. Whether she knew it or not, she could see it. And I couldn't, and I felt really bad. But, yeah. I just think that's kind of funny. I never would have put 2 and 2 together, if that makes sense. If my therapist hadn't have mentioned ADHD, and if she hadn't have listed all of them, because I was really hard on myself, right? After this argument, I was really hard on myself. I was like, you know what, you're a horrible person, you do interrupt people a lot, you do try and make things about yourself. I was reinforcing this belief that I was a horrible person, and I wasn't. I just had undiagnosed ADHD. And I feel like this is important to mention because I feel like a lot of people have gone through that as well. Especially a lot of women I've spoken to that have had a diagnosis later in life. I say later in life, I'm only 23, but not when they were a child. I feel like a lot of girls have had that. Or very similarly, they were very, very smart in primary school, they were considered the gifted kid, or going into secondary school, they were the nerds, they were the gifted kids, but they start getting to college and uni and you burn out entirely. Because that is exactly what happened to me. Even though it was during COVID, at the end of my second year, I was considering dropping out. And I've not really said that to many people. Obviously, my mum, because I was crying down the phone to my mum at one point that I wanted to drop out. But, yeah, I was getting really overwhelmed, nothing was helping, it wasn't structured in a way that I needed it to be. And again, with me having ADHD, that makes sense because there wasn't really any deadlines. They were all very lax. We had video calls, of course, but because they're video calls, it wasn't like they weren't doing our attendance. We weren't showing up in person. And showing up in person is a massive thing for me, or was back then, you know, before I got this level of disabled. But showing up in person helped me massively because it was right. I have to be there. People are going to notice if I'm not there. You know, my friends are going to ask me where I am. They're going to be like, oh, why aren't you doing this? And basically just something to hold me accountable. Whereas when it was online, there was nothing holding me accountable at all. And I was really struggling. I couldn't understand the work. I was really struggling to understand what the lecturers were saying. And the multiple tech issues just kept angering me to the point where I give up on a lecture. Because the mics wouldn't work, or the PowerPoint wouldn't load, or the internet was down, or there was either a problem with my internet or the uni, or things getting cancelled. All the lectures started moulding into one, and it just wasn't good. Now, I am going to sort of skip over the rest of 2022 because nothing happened at all in terms of my ADHD. If you follow me on Instagram and TikTok, you will know that I was in an induced coma. I had sepsis and pneumonia in February and March of 2022. That doesn't relate to this story for once. I'm not going to talk about it much. But I then moved home. I couldn't really finish with uni. And I may or may not have called my uni ableist pricks because they weren't supporting the students. They weren't supporting me as a disabled student, even before the ADHD diagnosis and the physical term of things. So obviously, now I have that diagnosis, looking back on myself, I wish I wasn't that hard on myself because, you know, it wasn't entirely my fault. And yes, there was things that I probably could have done to help. I'm not going to deny that. But the support was not there at all. And it was like that for a lot of people. Whether they were disabled or neurodivergent or anything like that, the support was not there for anyone, which sucks. However, I did eventually get my degree. You'll be happy to know. I have a degree in zoology. but it was so difficult. And after the experience I had with my undergrad, there was no way in hell I was going back for a postgraduate. Uni learning was not set out in a way that was beneficial to me, even when it was in person. It wasn't good. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. And again, now knowing that I have ADHD, that makes a lot of sense, because it was a very rigid course structure. The lecturers weren't really equipped to deal with different types of people. It was just a mess. It was a mess. And during 2022, 2023, literally nothing happened in terms of my ADHD journey. Obviously, I started almost identifying as self-diagnosing and saying that I was pretty sure that I had it, because after the research I'd done and looking back on everything, reflecting on my whole life, it was very much that I'm 99% sure that I have ADHD. Right, it got to that point. But in terms of being on a waiting list, I was on a waiting list for 3 years at that point, I want to say, and nothing was happening. After my coma, I had to move back home with my parents, and because of that, all of my doctor's stuff and referrals had got a bit messed up. So some of them were still in Cambridge, which is where I went to uni, and some of them were, no, you're being discharged entirely. We don't really know what happened to my psychiatry referral. It just sort of vanished. I tried getting my doctors down here to check on it, and they said, we can see where it was put through, but nothing's happened. So this is when the NHS Right to Choose came in. Now, my two friends that I've met online and now in person, they both have ADHD. They both said, we went through Right to Choose, we went through, I think those two specifically went through Psychiatry UK. So if you look at NHS Right to Choose, there's going to be loads of different options for you to go through. But specifically, they went through Psychiatry UK. Whenever I looked, there wasn't a spot available. So obviously they're doctors, they have certain patient books open, and I ended up going and getting a place with ADHD 360, and I had a bit of trouble logging on, which maybe added like 2 weeks onto it, but from actually logging on, there was an appointment literally in 2 days. It was either that or I wait until the end of September, and at this point it was end of July, start of August 2024. So I literally said, screw it, I'll take this one. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to get this done. I want to know for sure, do I have it, do I not? Literally 2 days. I think it was an hour and a half of this guy talking to me. And at the end of it, he was, yeah, pretty sure you have it. And you've got the diagnosis there. You've got the diagnosis now. You have ADHD. And he started talking about how it's highly likely I have the combined type. Now, they can't actually clinically say you have the hyperactive type or you have this type, because 99% of the time you will have a mixture of both. And even if that's just like a couple of symptoms overlapping, you might lean more towards the other, but mine was pretty 50-50. So you have the inattentive type and you have the hyperactive type. Again, pretty 50-50 with me. I zone out a lot, I can't concentrate, or I hyperfocus and hyperfixate, or there's so many symptoms that I can't go through all of them on this video because it will just end up being like 2 hours long. And again, I'm not a doctor. Do not use this to diagnose yourselves, please. I have to say that because I'm so worried that someone's going to be like, oh, I watched this YouTube video and, you know, this girl who has all the same symptoms as me said she's got ADHD. And yeah, you might do, but you also might not. I don't want to be responsible for that, please. But I got the diagnosis, and literally straight away he was like, do you want to try medication? You don't have to. But the fact that you've come through Right to Choose, it's, you know, you probably wanted more than a diagnosis. You wanted to try and do something about it. Okay, so yes, medication. I started on Elvans 3 weeks ago now, I want to say. So literally the whole process. Once I actually got started with ADHD 360, I was on medication within 2 weeks. I had the diagnosis and I was on medication within 2 weeks. That is that. If we ignore all of the bit about me moving and the referrals getting messed up, it was a pretty quick process. But obviously the waitlist itself on the NHS is absolutely huge. That is what's going to be your longest wait time if you want to go through this process as well. And like I said, I was on that waitlist for 3 years. Apparently on my camera I can only record for 30 minutes at a time because it just shut off mid-sentence. I don't even remember where I was. But you do have the option of Right to Choose once you've been on the waiting list for about a year, I believe. And your doctor usually has to refer you for that, or mine did anyway. And like I said, it depends on what places have availability to take you on and, you know, what one you want to go with. Obviously, I didn't really care at this point who I went with. I just wanted it sorted. I wanted help because it was impacting my life. I was getting really impulsive with money, which I don't like admitting, but you know, gonna be honest with you guys. And it was very much a case of, it wasn't even necessarily big purchases. It was just, alright, I want a snack, I'm gonna go get chocolate. And that added up so quickly. But it is better now. It is better now. Only in 3 weeks, but I've been budgeting, I've been doing this. It's been working. And I am very much grateful for that. But my first week on Elvans, I noticed a difference almost straight away, which a lot of people said I would, but I really didn't believe that I would, because most of the medications I have been on in the past for anything, it's a case of, oh, it's got to build up in your system, you won't feel it straight away, all of that sort of thing. So it was weird to me that I took my first Elvans and then the same day I was like, you know what, I'm going to rebrand my business. Or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I don't think I rebranded my business that day, I think I did something else, but it was something to do with my business. And all of a sudden I felt like the most productive person in the world. It was really weird. I was still not great with my eating, which is another symptom of ADHD. I either forget to eat or I eat the whole house. And yes, I'm probably giving the fat shamers more bait, but who cares? I'm being honest in this video. So it was very much a case of, if you give me a whole packet of those Cadbury chocolate buttons, I'm eating the whole thing in 5 minutes. Those are like my kryptonite, those chocolate buttons. And again, with ADHD, it's very much food fixations as well. So for a while it was Maltesers, for a while it was cheese strings. Obviously at the moment it is the chocolate buttons. And you know what's funny? I'm lactose intolerant. I don't help myself, do I? But like, my partner mentioned it as well. He was like, oh, you've gone off this food, haven't you? You used to have this all the time. And like, yeah, I just, the thought of that makes me want to violently throw up now. I don't want anything to do with that thing. And again, it's funny because he has ADHD as well, but the way it presents in both of us is really, really different. He very much is hyperactive and I love him for it, but also because I'm very internal with my hyperactivity. Like, it's overwhelm, it's anxiety in my head, it's all of this sort of thing. When he's bouncing off the walls and I'm overstimulated, I get so angry. I feel really bad, but I can't help it. He'll be talking and bouncing and he'll be literally Tigger from Winnie the Pooh mixed with Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph. Imagine that, right? That level of hyperactivity and bouncing and talking. And I'm there like, oh my god, if you say one more word to me, I am going to throw a pillow at your head. So the fact that we have very opposite presentations of it, sometimes it works and we sort of balance each other out. But other times, one of us just ends up getting annoyed and it's just like, can you shut up, please? I say one of us, it's mostly me. He's pretty chill, it's mostly me. Sorry. If he sees this, he probably won't. But, yeah. I do find it quite funny because they told him when he was in school and he's lived with it his whole life. He likes who he is with it. He doesn't really have any of the... I mean, he does, but to him, it doesn't negatively impact his life. Whereas to me, the symptoms that I'm getting and presenting myself with, I don't like it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be stuck for hours at a time in decision paralysis or executive dysfunction, just like, oh my god, I want to do something. Whereas, you know, he's fine. To him, he has lived with that his whole life. Whereas for me, yes, I've lived with the symptoms my whole life, but only just having a diagnosis at 23, it feels very much like something new to me. It feels like I'm just starting to live with it. And it's weird. It's really weird to explain. But again, looking back on my life, it makes sense. At the moment, I'm doing okay. I think the Elvans is starting to work. I do think that I have an appointment next week or the week after, I think. And I think that they're going to increase the meds again because I'm only on 50 milligrams at the moment and it's working, but it definitely could be better. And I want it to be better, personally. Now, you don't have to get medicated for it if you don't want to, but for me, I feel like at the moment it's working. And I'm okay with that. I want to keep going with it. The medication shortage does worry me, I won't lie, because the way I've been feeling the past couple of weeks compared to before, I am really worried about it. And a lot of people I've spoken to are worried about it because it massively changes like how you live your day-to-day life. And that freaks me out. I love how I keep just brushing my hair, thinking I'm going to straighten it again, but it looks mostly straight. Oh, no, there's a bit there. Right, okay. This is also why I'm doing it in front of the camera, so I can see what I'm doing. But yeah, my first week on Elvans wasn't bad. I feel like I had 4 really good days and 3 sort of days. So it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad before. And obviously you're still going to have the good and bad days, regardless of if you're medicated or not. Same way I do with my pain and, you know, my physical symptoms. But it's been better. So my second week on Elvans, I bumped up from 30 milligrams to 50 milligrams. And I started feeling a lot better. At this point in my business, I was very much like, right, I need to do something about it. I can't keep being in the same place. And I feel like a mixture of the medication and my business coach, Ellie, they both gave me the kick up the arse that I needed. And it very much worked as well, because I was like, right, I'm going to make this new course. It's going to absolutely change the influencing world. It's going to, you know, I'm going to teach people about everything. I'm going to be that person that I needed when I was starting out. I'm going to make everything easy. I'm going to make it accessible as well. And I mean mentally and physically. Making content creation accessible to everyone. This is what I want to do. And I just had this sudden burst of, right, this is my purpose. This is what I want to do. And I've been putting my all into it. Absolutely. Like, my levels of procrastination have gone down massively. If you talk to anyone about me last month, before I started the medication, I would procrastinate so badly. And don't get me wrong, I still do. I procrastinated making this video for a while and doing more content. I haven't posted it properly on my Instagram in a while. Oops. But it's been getting better. And I am really proud of myself for that. And being able to actually look back on it and be like, yeah, you know what? This has changed and I wanted it to, and I'm glad that it has. And I feel better for it. As well, I've suddenly got a hyperfixation for knitting again. I go through phases. My mum taught me how to knit when I was 5, and all of a sudden I'm like, right, I'm going to tell you the whole story. Again, I do still go off tangents, as we can tell. But in May, I started wanting to knit for this baby charity that was in Essex. And it's just sort of hats, mittens, little booties, blankets, you know, anything you can do. Just as little charity donations. They'll put it in a basket for a new mother, or, you know, anyone that needs it, hospitals that need it, they'll send it out, or anyone Essex-based that needs it. There's loads of them if you want to get involved as well. It's like the Warm Baby Project, or there's probably local groups near to you as well. But I suddenly got this hyperfixation for knitting. Now, I haven't knitted something in probably about 3 years. Properly. I started trying to make a teddy bear for my friend, started it, never finished it. ADHD. The past month, maybe, not even that, like the past couple of weeks, I've made 3 baby hats and a pair of booties, and they're so cute. And I will knit for hours at a time, the same way as when it comes to my business, I will quite happily just sort of be glued to my computer for hours at a time, and I need to force myself to take breaks because it's not healthy. But once I get into something, I get into it. Like, into it, you know? And you can't really turn me away. Okay, I need to eat something. Oh my god. This video is going to be an absolute awful time to edit, because I don't think I have said a linear story the entire 41 minutes I've been filming. I don't think I've said something linear in that whole time. And this was meant to be quick because I'm going out later. But I've also been going to the gym more and being more motivated that way. I was not happy when the guy said that I need to not have caffeine on my meds, because my pre-workout, which really, really helped in the gym, obviously if you had a pre-workout, most of the time, very high levels of caffeine. So the one I had at that point was 2 Monster Energy drinks worth of caffeine in one hit. Like, that level of caffeine. And he was like, oh, do you drink caffeine often? Like, energy drinks? I was like, no, I don't drink energy drinks that much. My pre-workout. And he's sort of just like, yeah, you need to cut that out. And I was just like, oh, no. Because I get so tired. But again, physical disabilities, I get so tired so quickly. But I also want to get in better shape and try and help myself and rehabilitate myself still, because yes, I might be 2 years on, but I had to learn how to walk and breathe and talk again. So, you know, it's a long journey, and I don't want to stop that. I want to keep pushing myself, and I want to get better and better and better. And then he was like, oh yeah, you can't have the pre-workout that helps you with that. And I was like, like that was my literal reaction on the phone to this guy. I'll be honest, I don't have as much energy as what I used to, obviously, because there is not the caffeine there. However, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And it's certainly not as bad as it was before. Because obviously the Elvans is a stimulant as well. Ow, I just burnt the back of my head. But yeah, I also know a lot of people who have the meds that still have caffeine. And that's not me saying that you should go against your doctor's advice. Please listen to your doctors. But I know a lot of people that, you know, we're British. We like tea. That's got caffeine in it, unfortunately. You know, once they've been on the meds a while, they will sort of sneak in a cup of tea here and there and they're fine. But again, that's not me telling you to do it. Please do not do that. At least not because of me anyway. Yeah, don't do that. But I've had mine today. Obviously, I'm on the 50 milligrams. It is my 3rd week of it. I refill my little pill pot. You know, I have a little weekly. It's like a little maraca. Also, if you haven't seen my last podcast episode with Phil Ayana, you need to. It's brilliant. We are both top tier yappers, in her words. And they're just a brilliant person. They really are. And you need to see it. See it. Anyway, it's a podcast. Unfortunately, that one's not a video. And I will be honest, it's mainly because I had no makeup on. I had no makeup on and I didn't know how to really turn it into a video. Because obviously my screen recording is big picture of me like this and a little tiny picture of Phil here. It's just not a good format for a YouTube video. So yeah, if anyone knows how to do it, so it's like half and half, that would be really good for future reference. So please let me know. But I'm going to stop talking. Long story short, about 3 years on a waiting list. But once it got started, it was quick. Also, I did learn that ADHD is mostly genetic, like it can be genetic. And considering most of my issues are genetic, I know I got them from. I know. She knows as well. Yeah. And I'm going to the cinema tonight. We're going to watch a re-release of Gladiator, which I've never seen, but it's 2 of our friends' favourite movie ever. So we're going to see that before the second one comes out. So, you know, this is my life. I get to go to the gym, make content, and then go watch a movie. That sounds 100 times better than being stuck in an office all day to me. Sorry if you're stuck in an office all day. But, like, that's what my business is. It's, you know, I made this life for myself because of my content creation, and I want to make content creation accessible for everyone else. So that's what my whole business is about, which will be linked in the show notes or description or whatever the thing's called. And yeah, check it out if you want to. If not, that's all good. But I'm just in the best mood right now. I'm in pain and, you know, my back is killing me. My shoulders are not in great shape right now because doing my hair actually really hurts my arms. But other than that, I'm doing great. I'm in such a good mood. And I talk a lot more. What's really funny is we were talking in a group chat the other day, me and my friends, is we all talk loads when we get to know each other. So, the first time I met my friends, I was so shy and I felt really awkward and I didn't know what to talk about. It's the first time I'm meeting this girl. I don't really know anything about her. Her and all of our other friends, you know, they went to the PLT casting, they spent hours in line together, they got to know each other, whereas me, like, this is the first time I'm meeting them in person. And I was saying, I'm really shy until I get to know you, and then you can't get me to shut up. And this video has been the you can't get me to shut up part. So, you know, we're all best friends here. That's what this is. We're all best friends. Right. I'm going to shut up now. I hope you have the best rest of your day ever. Please leave a like and comment and subscribe and, you know, do all of the good things that help me with the algorithm because, like I said earlier, we are best friends now. So best friends help each other with things like that. And I hope to see you on the next video or podcast episode. There are different things posted on each one. So, you know, if you're from the podcast, go follow my YouTube. If you're from YouTube, go follow the podcast. Was that the right way around? I don't know. And also, feel free to watch one of my other videos from YouTube, which will be put on the screen here, or listen to another episode of my podcast. So, I love you. Have the best day. Bye.